Reports are circulating about $2,000 tariff refund checks linked to a new economic plan. People across the country are asking the same urgent question: are Americans about to receive another major payment? This is not a typical stimulus check. This is not Social Security. And this is not coming through Congress in the traditional way. This idea is tied to tariff money, the funds collected from imports coming into the United States. Under the proposal, a portion of this money could be returned directly to American households. Before getting too excited, there are many details to consider. Some individuals could benefit, while others could see prices rise. And the political debate surrounding this plan is already intense. Yet, here is the part that grabs attention. Advisors close to the former president are discussing a $2,000 refund per household, calling it a tariff dividend for Americans. If implemented, this could have a significant impact on household finances in 2026 and the years that follow. It is not simply about receiving money. This plan could influence Social Security, taxes, inflation, and even the cost of everyday goods. To understand what is happening, it helps to break down the concept of tariffs. Many people find tariffs confusing, and much of the reporting has mischaracterized what is being proposed. At its core, a tariff is a tax on goods imported into the United States. When products are sold to the U.S. from other countries, the government charges an additional fee. This money flows directly into the U.S. Treasury. During his previous presidency, the former president relied heavily on tariffs, presenting them as a way to protect American factories, jobs, and industries. According to policy advisors and early drafts of economic plans, there is interest in expanding tariffs on a broad scale if the former president returns to office. Proposals include tariffs on goods imported from major trading partners like China and Europe. Some ideas suggest a 10% tariff on imports across the board, with higher rates for specific countries or products. The question then becomes, how does the idea of a $2,000 refund fit in? Insiders explain that the government would collect substantial revenue from these tariffs, potentially in the hundreds of billions over time. Instead of allowing all of that money to sit in federal programs, a portion could be distributed back to American households in the form of a refund or dividend. This would function like a national rebate. Essentially, consumers pay higher prices on imported goods, the government collects that money, and then some of it is returned as a check to households. One economic memo circulated among conservative policy groups suggested an average refund of approximately $2,000 per household each year. While this figure is not finalized, it has captured attention as a talking point. Supporters of the idea argue that tariffs generate revenue without raising income taxes. In this framing, foreign companies and countries are effectively paying, and by returning some of the money, the government can claim to support American families directly. It is important to note that tariffs are not free money. When tariffs increase, companies often pass those costs on to consumers. This means prices on electronics, clothing, vehicles, and groceries could rise. A refund check might offset some of these expenses, but it may not fully cover the higher costs. The trade-off is subtle but significant. From a political standpoint, the idea is compelling. The image of a tariff dividend check sent to families evokes patriotism and frames the payment as a new form of economic support without calling it a traditional stimulus. Early drafts propose different ways of structuring the refund. Some suggest a flat payment per household, while others envision payments per person, similar to stimulus checks distributed during the pandemic. There are even proposals that would target middle-class and lower-income households specifically. Administratively, the refund could be connected to tax filings, allowing individuals to claim it when submitting their annual taxes. Alternatively, it could be sent automatically by the IRS, much like previous stimulus checks. Nothing has been finalized, and Congress would need to approve key aspects of the plan. Some advisors are calling this idea a tariff freedom dividend. They argue that the United States should benefit directly from the taxes collected on global trade. They also suggest it could help offset inflation and provide families with additional cash. However, there are skeptics, even within the Republican Party. Some worry that higher tariffs could slow economic growth and provoke retaliation from trading partners. Economists warn that aggressive tariffs could exacerbate inflation rather than reduce it. This would make the proposal a large-scale economic experiment with uncertain outcomes. It is important to remember that tariffs were a major part of policy in the previous administration. The scale being discussed now is significantly larger. Internal estimates from think tanks suggest tariffs could generate over $500 billion over several years. If even a portion of that money were returned to households, checks of around $2,000 could be feasible. Yet, distributing that revenue as refunds would reduce funds available for federal programs, impacting deficits, taxes, and other budget priorities. This is not simply a check in the mail, but a shift in how the government collects and spends money. The political debate is already underway. Some lawmakers view the refund as a disguised stimulus that could increase inflation. Others argue that it is a pro-worker policy designed to prioritize American families. For individuals, the key question is whether a $2,000 check is coming. The answer is complicated. Under current discussions, refunds would likely go to households rather than individuals, meaning one household could receive a flat amount while another might receive more based on family size. Some proposals suggest per-household payments, others per-person payments, and some include income limits, excluding high earners. A retired couple might receive $2,000, a family of 4 could receive more, and a single filer might receive less. None of these figures is guaranteed. Seniors and those on fixed incomes are concerned about the potential effect on benefits. Tariff refund checks could be treated like stimulus payments and not count as taxable income for Social Security purposes. However, depending on the structure, they could have tax implications. Policy drafts suggest 2 options: a tax credit claimed on annual taxes or a direct payment from the Treasury. Each approach carries different consequences. Even if the check itself does not reduce Social Security benefits, rising prices could. Tariffs increase import costs, and companies often pass these costs to consumers. As a result, groceries, clothing, electronics, and vehicles could become more expensive. Economists caution that the net effect might be a temporary cash boost offset by a higher cost of living. For working families, the impact could vary. A $2,000 check could help cover bills, reduce debt, or increase savings. Yet employers might face higher costs for imported materials, potentially affecting wages, hiring, and even job security. Policy effects will differ depending on the industry and local economy. For those receiving Social Security disability benefits or other federal assistance, the same considerations apply. Previous stimulus payments were not counted as income for these programs, but legislation would need to clarify the rules again. Uncertainty could create confusion and concern. It is also crucial to be aware of scams. Whenever a new payment is discussed publicly, fraudulent websites, texts, and calls emerge, asking for Social Security numbers, bank details, or fees. The government will never ask for money to release a refund. Some proposals suggest the refund could be taxable, while others propose it would be tax-free. If taxed, a portion could be owed back depending on household income. There is also the broader fiscal impact. Using tariff revenue for direct payments might lead Congress to adjust other tax rates, deductions, or spending programs, potentially affecting Medicare, Social Security funding, or infrastructure projects. This is not about one check. It is about a fundamental shift in government financing. Timing is another important factor. Implementing this plan would require legislation or executive action, followed by debates, votes, and potential legal challenges. Some insiders mention pilot programs within the first year of a new administration, while others suggest full implementation could take longer. Government programs move slowly, and court challenges or budget negotiations could further delay action. A check in the mail tomorrow is highly unlikely. Aggressive tariffs could also provoke retaliation from other countries, impacting American exports, farmers, and manufacturers. While some households might receive a refund, others could face economic losses. This is a central reason for the controversy surrounding the proposal. The plan is both political messaging and a genuine policy discussion. The concept of tariff refunds is real, though the specifics are still proposals. The figure of $2,000 is symbolic and designed to capture attention. It is meaningful, but not guaranteed. Even if implemented, payments could be delayed, reduced, or targeted differently based on congressional decisions. For this plan to become reality, multiple steps must occur. First, a formal tariff policy would need to be announced. Then, Congress would need to debate whether and how to distribute revenue as refunds. Lawmakers would likely argue over using funds to reduce the national debt, fund programs, or provide direct household payments. This could evolve into one of the most significant economic debates in recent memory. Even with early proposals, it could take months or years for any checks to be issued. Committee hearings and legislative processes are slow, and political disagreements can extend timelines further. Until formal legislation is enacted, it is unsafe to plan finances around potential refunds. Loans or commitments based on anticipated payments would be risky. Despite uncertainty, the discussion is important. It demonstrates a shift in thinking about trade, taxes, and direct payments to citizens. It also illustrates that governments may continue exploring ways to return trade revenues to households. Even if this specific plan does not materialize, similar ideas could resurface in future administrations. Practical steps for individuals include staying informed through official government channels, protecting personal information, and maintaining a conservative approach to budgeting. If a refund does arrive, it should be treated as a bonus rather than guaranteed income. Social Security and retirement benefits remain protected by law, and any significant changes would take time to implement. In conclusion, the idea of $2,000 tariff refund checks is bold, controversial, and potentially transformative. Yet nothing is official. The proposal is still in the discussion stage, with numerous hurdles to clear before any payments occur. Staying informed, cautious, and financially prepared is the best approach. Government changes are slow and debated, giving households time to adapt. The concept highlights a potential new approach to government funding and payments. It may reshape public expectations of economic policy in the future. While uncertainty remains, the discussion signals that policy innovation and direct financial support to households could become more common. Monitoring developments closely and protecting personal finances are essential. Americans should focus on reliable sources, remain skeptical of scams, and understand that any refund, if it happens, is not immediate or guaranteed. This idea, if enacted, could influence economic behavior, household budgets, and even political debates for years to come. By understanding the trade-offs and remaining cautious, individuals can navigate these changes effectively. The conversation about tariff refunds illustrates the complex interplay between trade policy, government revenue, and household income, offering a glimpse into potential innovations in economic policy that may extend beyond the current proposal.